What's up? This is Brian from Gemini Syndrome, and you're listening to DaBelly.
Hi, this is Dave from DaBelly. Tonight we're with Brian from Gemini Syndrome. Welcome to Phoenix.
Wonderful to be back.
Well, congratulations on your most recent record, Memento Mori. It's such a difficult thing to say for me, but it's there. It's been out for 4 or 5 months, but I'd still like to hear about it. I know you're still out touring on it, and it's a great record. Tell me about it.
Thank you very much. It's the second part of a trilogy that we've had planned out with our whole theme of birth into life, into death, and the journey that we're all on here. So Memento Mori is the middle section of that. And, we're out there touring it and getting it out there to everyone that likes it. And so far it's doing really well.
Sort of this arc across records is unusual for a band of your styling, alt metal. It's more of a progressive type of thing. What made you think about this? What brought this about?
Yeah, I think a lot of the albums that we're into kind of did that unintentionally. And so, when you look at a collection of albums of the stuff we all grew up on, a lot of it seems to have an overarching theme, and you see the progression of the lyrics and the message, and you see the growth happen. So, for us, it was just kind of always, gonna be that anyways. So we might as well just define it and come up with some cool symbology to back it up, and then just let it grow, and it kind of has a life of its own at a certain point.
So this all obviously started with Lux, and I got to imagine that somewhere there was a meeting where everybody just sat down and said, I've got an idea. How did that play out when you just presented, I've got 3 albums worth of stuff here, and I've got a thought pattern to it?
Everyone said, okay.
All right.
A lot of argument.
Yeah. All right, I understand. That's actually really cool. This album is a little bit heavier than Lux. Was that intentional going in?
No, not at all. We just wrote from the gut. As soon as we toured Lux extensively for, almost 3 years. And so when we finally ended that cycle, we kind of knew we had a good chunk of time to write, and we just kind of just let it all pour out, and we had so much pent up energy, it just all flowed out of us.
I understand that prior to going into the studio for this record, you really had the arrangements down pretty solid, so you're able to get into the studio and just kind of move through them quickly. Talk a little bit about the benefits of just having everything in place.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, we did all of our pre-production from home, and as we were cranking out song by song by song, we would always send those to Kevin and Kane and get their thoughts on it. So there was a lot of notes that happened, between us, that even before we went into the studio, to where we were polishing things and getting it ready for that. So, and we were all working on the same templates and stuff. So when we went into the studio, it was all already laid out. So we already had all the sessions started. So a lot of the work was already done when we got in there. So we were able to get, what took us 4 months in the studio to get done with Lux, we got done in less than 2 months with the second album.
Yeah, that's amazing, and for the fans out there, they probably don't realize the importance of going in and just being efficient in the studio, how amount of money you save, and the flow of the music. It all just kind of fits together perfectly. You mentioned Kevin and Kane. Talk about what they bring to the record.
Those guys have become a part of our family. When we met Kevin for the first time when we did Lux, it was we went through that whole experience together, where we took songs that we had already been playing for years and looked at them with new eyes and gave them new life. And we wrote several songs, actually in the studio that at the end, so once we kind of had established where we were going, we felt that there was some space for a couple more, and that's when we put in Morning Star, and we put in Pleasure and Pain, and we added a couple songs at the end that kind of filled up the album, gave it some pieces that it might have been missing before, from looking on the outside in as an album. And Kevin really has that big picture, overreaching vision that, was a huge learning experience for all of us, and me especially. I was paying a lot of attention to everything, and during that process is when we met Kane. And so even before we started actually recording Memento Mori, we had done, we did Eternity with Kane. We did Remember We Die with Kevin, uh, months before we ever even went into the studio to start actual Memento Mori. So we had a couple songs already under our belt, and we developed a good workflow with working with both of them. It's in the same studio, so we did several songs with Kevin. We did the most of it with Kane, and it is just, they're a father and son, and they work really good together, and they get a lot of the same results but with different means. And it's really interesting to see, how the whole process works with them. And they're an extension of our family. We really enjoy working with them, and we'll definitely be working with them again.
He's an amazing producer, and if for those at home, take a look at his backlog of things that he has done working with Ozzy and a lot of other really, really big bands. And it's cool that he's working with Gemini Syndrome and bringing out the sound that you guys got.
Yeah, it was a really good thing for us to connect with him so early on, and we've grown a lot because of it.
You mentioned Remember We Die. Memento Mori is Latin for Remember We Die. That was early into the album when you sort of put that theme into it, not?
Yeah. We wanted to give the, everything that we're talking about are ancient concepts, and nothing. We're not reinventing the wheel with any of these ideas of, remembering how to live life, and appreciating the things we have. These are ancient concepts. So, we thought early on to go with the Latin, for naming all the albums. And, and even on the new album, we bring an ancient sort of symbolism to everything we can to a lot of the times, you can communicate better that way. Then you're limited by language. You're limited by phonetics. You're limited by your dialogue. So we can communicate a lot through pictures and through symbolism and through metaphor, and so that the words act more as a signpost than actually defining the thing you're talking about.
Do you find your fan base are called the sinners? Do you find that they capture all the little nuances you put into music, all the visuals, all the little things you kind of trap in there?
We create things so you can digest it on many, many levels. If you are the kind of person that wants to dig deep, we've created a very deep treasure trove for you to dig into. And you can go from the lyrics and go into all the multiple meanings of it, and then you can dip into the symbolism and then the art. And everything we do is very rich with content. But at the same time, if you want to just look at it on the very surface level, it definitely has a meaning there too. So there's lots of layers to it, so you can dig into it at whatever level you want to go, but you can go deep.
So for the song Anonymous, I read a quote saying that it was really about divisive elements and sort of the games that are going on, a lot of the head games that are going on in the world, particularly in America today, about being divisive to one another and so on. Talk a little bit about the song itself and really where it comes from, what it means.
When we were in the studio recording, we had just finished recording Zealot, and the whole theme of that song is very similar to the theme of Anonymous. And we had just finished recording all the music to Anonymous, and me and Aaron were driving home from the studio, and that's right when Paris happened. And it was just one of those things where it's an example of this dogmatic zealotry that can just kind of escalate and grow and become sick over years and decades and centuries. And we have a big interest in a lot of interesting books and texts and stuff, and so one of those being the Behold a Pale Horse, which is one of our favorite books that me and Aaron bonded on when we first met. We were like, oh, you have that book, I have that book, and along with a lot of other good ones. So we decided to give it that theme, and there's a lot of symbolism behind it. Just the fact that there is a hacker group called Anonymous. It's way deeper than that. But what they represent and what they try to convey in their messages is very symbolic of what that song represents. And so when you have all these divisive factions that are kind of in some way trying to demonize the unification of humans and man, and nationalism and religious separation and racism have almost become scare tactics, where you kind of think that we're way past that. We are America. We are a country of a melting pot of everyone. Yet somehow, we're not only 200 years into our history and everyone's forgetting it already, And so, yeah. And when anything's ever based on fear, whenever anything's ever based on using divisive measures as a means for manipulation and control, those things never last. So it's, it happened in the Boston Tea Party. It happened, at the change tables in Nazareth. It'll happen again. So I'm just sitting back and watch and put out the good message.
So obviously, America's not listening to each other. But the funny thing, the irony here is that everybody's listening to music. So you have an opportunity to make a statement. And I think every musician does make a statement, intentionally or not. Do you feel that you're expressing a thought, asking a question, or giving an answer?
We leave the answers to the people, but the first two for sure. We have an ideology, and we pose a lot of questions. We want people to ask themselves some questions, and and be honest with themselves, and be honest with each other, and whatever that truth is what it is, and that's fine. The truth
different for everybody.
Yeah, and that's actually what makes everything, this country and this world, so beautiful. It's so beyond this country. Our music is if we were to ever to come in contact with an alien civilization, they can throw books at us. They could throw their poetry at us, their entire library of knowledge, and talk to us till they're blue in the face. But the only thing we'd actually be able to feel is if they played us some of their music. So, that's what we can offer.
Very, very great answer. I appreciate that. Easy stuff now. Touring. Where are you guys going for the rest of the year?
We're heading down the south. Down the south, up the 10, left on the 45, ending up in Maryland. We're going to go down, catch the 101 on the way home.
You have more tours planned for the year, obviously. Can you say what you've announced already?
We haven't announced it yet.
All right.
But it's
Don't stop it. Edit.
So what we're going to do is and then we're going to do a headline run after that just to finish up the dates.
Somewhere in their European tour, maybe Australia, something. All right. I thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Right.
Thinking violence is what's on wall.